You can check out all the episodes of The Table of Truth on our website, www.tableoftruth.com.
Welcome everybody to the Table of Truth. This is your man Cam. With me as always is
Cam 2, aka Last Action Negro, aka Incognegro, aka the most well-informed hater you know. So let's get
it. And we're back for a quick pod. Just gonna start it. We're gonna start piecemeal. One pod at a time. Every time we do one, life happens. Can't get back together to kind of get stuff, but I think if we put our heads together, we could probably do it slowly but surely. Once a week, once every 2 weeks. No promises, but you need three to be a streak.
Exactly. We was good. We was 2 for 2, and then this thing called life happened. And to all the fans that stuck with us, welcome back. To those that didn't, we hope you come back. But we try to put content out there, and we're gonna try to catch up on some of the important things that was trending recently. I know we missed a lot of juicy topics out there. We're going to try to touch on some of them that happened as recently as of last week. But we're glad you're back with us, and hopefully you guys have fun listening.
Yeah, man. The state of America is hilarious at the best and dangerous at worst. But the recent spat of white people calling police for black people existing is always interesting.
You know what? It was crazy to me. That's it's like a new move. Like that's the new move that white people in general want to do to find some. It's like a desperation move. Like I'm gonna call the cops because you're going to your own mailbox and taking out the mail type stuff. And
it's like a I'm gonna let it write it. I'm gonna call the manager.
It's so egregious to me that and they're lying too. For those that don't know, a few recent events happened where it's surprisingly. So Cam lives on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast, and I live in California, which is supposed to be so liberal. We've had instances where we've had white people call the cops, especially in the Bay Area, on folks doing menial tags or doing everyday things that are very harmless. One of the first instances was, we had talked about on a previous podcast, was a lady, we shall name her as Barbecue Betty, who had called the authorities on 2 unsuspecting black men that are just barbecuing at the location of Lake Merritt in Oakland, California. And black Twitter was outraged when they heard the story. And so what had happened was the people of Oakland, beautiful as they are, came back and did the largest electric slide ever. And the white lady that called the cops on these brothers tried to be the victim. Fast forward to a few days ago, there's another lady who goes by, let me make sure I get her name right.
Was that Permit Petty?
Yeah, that's Permit Patty's her nickname, but her real name is, one second, sorry about that, folks.
She's the one that has her own cannabis business, right?
Yes, and I'm going to get to that. So her name is Allison Attell, right? So the instance with her, excuse me, is that a young girl was selling bottles of water outside on the street, corner, neighborhood, whatever. As Americans, we grew up seeing this, lemonade stands. If you wanted to get your first buck, kids would go out there and try to get your hustle on. Girl Scouts do this, apparently. So this is nothing new. Allison, a.k.a. Permit Patty, took it upon herself to threaten to call authorities. What we thought was she was calling authorities on an 8-year-old girl. We come to find out this 8-year-old girl was selling water to acquire tickets to go to Disneyland. Now, when the story went viral, people felt bad for the little girl and angry at the woman that was calling the cops for the 8-year-old girl. And they bought and donated tickets to her, and she was ecstatic. You can go on YouTube, or not YouTube, excuse me. You go on the internet and Google this young lady, and you can see her being ecstatic for getting tickets, and her mom recorded it. And the lady didn't want to be seen when she was supposedly calling the cops because we come to find out she was just joking. And in both instances, they went from being the quote unquote aggressor and oppressor to trying to being a victim. Now, what's funny, exactly. So what's funny on the flip side is she is a former employee. Excuse me. Her name is she's a former employee, and they told me that she sold $1 million worth of cannabis products without a permit. Now, the whole beef she had with the little girl, she was selling without a permit. Ironic how life comes at you fast. And the funny thing is, she's making a profit over a drug that so many, let's call it what it is, black males that got arrested for and still in jail for selling weed. Now that it's legal, she's profiting off of that.
Yeah, I think the worst thing about that now is it kind of goes back to kind of like it's not illegal when we do it type of thing. And so what people don't realize too is when everybody was like, oh, we should legalize, cannabis and all that kind of stuff. And it was a good thing that they did, kick the money off the street, blah, blah, blah. But what they also didn't realize is like now you have to do the due diligence of getting people like released that were on, cannabis charges. And like there's a couple of nonprofits that are actually working in California to help inmates do that because there's a program to get them get their cases dismissed, but it's a volunteer program. So like they have to actually do the paperwork and do all that. And so what a lot of these programs are doing is doing the work for them. So they can get them out because there's something like, I don't know, 20, 30,000 people in jail now for misdemeanor cannabis charges. And I think even some like low-level felonies as well. But the other thing that was for this situation, it just kind of continued the thing where people call the police on black people for literally just being, as opposed to, some type of, crime or anything like that. Utilizing the police as almost like a tattletale system.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And that's pretty much what I'm saying. It's like they use it as a tattletale system where it's like, hey, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing at this place at this time. I'm calling the police on you, and the police is going to do something about it, knowing full well the context that we live in this area where kids and other people have been getting killed by the police for like literally doing nothing.
Exactly.
And so it's like that. The worst part about it to me is it's like, you're a grown woman in the cannabis business, even if she's not in the cannabis, you can throw that part out. But you're a grown woman calling, even if it's fake, calling the police on a child. It still doesn't make any sense.
None whatsoever. And yes, to your sentiment exactly. With the recent incidents with cops being involved with the youth or whatever in general, with African American people in general. Did a memorandum go out to white people say this is the thing to do to further harass people of color? Like, I really don't get it. And when they're confronted, their rebuttal is like lies. They don't know the law. She was like, Bake Sale or Barbecue Betty was like, it's costing the state tens of millions of dollars. Bitch, please. Like, it's a barbecue, a cookout. Like, people been cooking out since the beginning of the time. It ain't never cost taxpayers dollars. Lake Merritt.
Well, it makes it worse because what happens is usually when people try to bring in like it's against the law or they try to do that, they're doing it with the expectation that the person they're saying to doesn't know the law. And then when the person does, then you see what happens. They backtrack, they run away.
Look.
They were kind of, trying to exert like, oh, you guys are doing something wrong and criminal. I'm going to call the police. And then when the person's like, actually, no, I'm not doing anything wrong. You could call the police. Please do. We'll have a conversation with them. And then as you see, they started running away.
If a white person tells me it's costing America tens of millions of dollars a barbecue, what kind of world do we live in? That's a bullshit. I don't even need to know the law that no barbecuing has cost $10 million, man. Like, they ain't enough. There's not enough ribs and barbecue chicken out there that's gonna cost America tens of millions of dollars. And you gonna sit here and tell me this little girl needs a permit when you always show the iconic image of a white kid selling lemonade on their front yard to earn the first dollar? You get that.
Yeah, it's like I said. What makes it worse is like with all the other things that people are dealing with. It's like this is like literally the last thing people need to be talking about.
It's like, a desperation move.
So bad.
This is a desperation move, and it's funny, but it's also borderline dangerous. because of the state we live in, calling the cops could be lethal to us. So as Black people, we have to be well informed and understand the situation and not put ourselves in a situation. This goes even back to Waffle Houses. Like we had incidents where going to Waffle, look, it'd be a cold world when I go to Popeyes and get the cops called on me, man. What am I gonna do? Like we can't even go to Waffle House. These are staples of the Black community. A Waffle House, we know it's dingy and dirty, and they ain't got good grades, but it's the Waffle House. This is what we do. Now we can't even go to the Waffle Houses, man, because if we go there, it's like going to Guantanamo Bay or Auschwitz. Like it's really crazy. Like
well, also, it's a mix of the emboldening of just white people in general because of Trump, and it's not even because Trump is president in terms of like people voted for him, but it's more that they were the ones that like once he got nominated, they feel a little bit more emboldened to kind of do the dumb shit that they're doing.
You know what this reminds me of? When white people first saw Rocky.
That was their anthem.
No, I mean Eddie Murphy made a joke about this. They got bold. They saw the great white hype beat the snot out of a Black dude, and they come out bold. It's the same thing. I mean, not
the same. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Like they coming out bold, beating their chest, and that's cool. Whatever. But
and also you have to remember too, like what's interesting now that's happening is with one half of the country or a part of the country being more bolden in how they view race relations and all that kind of stuff, then you have the other part of the country also being more bold, being like, well, you guys have been doing this dumb shit for years. Now we're actually going to speak out about it, shame you for it, all that. I'm not a fan of shaming culture, but it has a place in where the current climate of everything is now. So it's like, back in the day, she would have done this dumb shit. This kid would have got, the police would have been like, why are you calling me for this incident, whatever. They let the kid off, or whatever, or in a perfect world, and that was it. That would be over. But now you do this one dumb thing, people bring out their phone and they start recording the whole thing, and then that goes on the web, and it goes viral. Then people find out where you live, find out where you work, find out what you do, and then the shaming happens, and then you got to defend yourself, and then the snowball effect keeps going.
Check it out. This is a notice to white people. Twitter will body you. We will find you. And we will end your career. Allison, you got kicked off of the cannabis third-party store you're working with. They found out how asinine move you did, and they don't want no affiliation with her. Now, as everything how it turns out, when white people be the aggressor, they turn into the victim. She's on TV saying, oh, I feel threatened. I've gotten death threats. Ain't nobody threatened. Black people don't go threaten her. God has a way getting back at her ass. She lost millions by this endorsement deal. No one's gonna fool her. No one's gonna. Plus, she was selling weed for dogs, and people was buying, and she was selling to humans. It ain't for people. They're for dogs. Like she said, oh, you know what? She's selling snake oil. I can't. This just is crazy to me. Like, oh, officer, I want to report of a black guy wearing a robe going to the grocery store buying bacon. What? Like.
Yeah. Well, and also it goes to this thing too, is where it was kind of like the attorney that was yelling at the ethnic like wait staff at a restaurant in New York. It's not even a restaurant; it was like a fast food spot, and he was wilding out. Like the video, he was literally just wilding out. Like there's no excuse, there's no nothing. He was literally just wilding out, assuming everyone was Mexican and just saying they're all immigrants and dumb shit. And it's like, one, where does that behavior even become even appropriate anywhere? And then two, in the climate that we're in now, where everyone has a recording device, like you have to know, or maybe you don't know, that could go crazy. And that's exactly what happened. And dude, he lost his office space because the people that own it saw the video and they're like, we don't want to be associated with you. Done.
Oh, is that the dude that was at the Mexican spot?
Yep. They sent him a freaking mariachi band in front of his office, and they played it for 8 hours, and that
was the coldest move ever.
But so again, while I agree that he was like a freaking idiot, But it's like we're getting to a point now where like everything you say and do is held to a certain scrutiny, justified or unjustified. So now we're at a weird place where it's like you could you could literally say one thing, and that one thing is now encompassing your whole entire life. And
Hey,
so that's the part that I'm like, I think that's the slippery slope. That's the danger part.
So look, white people, and I'm not saying it's right, but these white people out here, these weirdos, calling the cops on black people for doing crazy stuff. You got to be prepared for the repercussions. Like I said, Twitter will find and body you in your career. Now you put yourself out there, and then somebody gonna be malicious enough to put your work address or your home address, and that's the dangerous part. And that's the part I was saying. Like I think I think nowadays, which the part that I do agree with is people are being held accountable for their dumbass actions. That's good. Yeah. The part that gets kind of crazy is when you get to that level where it's just like, hey, this is this person's name, government. This is this person's number. This is this person's address. This is the person's family. Like, whoa, wait, where did we jump from here? I always look at it as like hit them where it hurts, and that's the pockets. If they got a business, hit them where it hurts, the pockets. She's selling weed. Tell them like she got kicked off of that spot. She was selling cannabis for dogs, and she's not on that company anymore. With the lawyer, this lawyer speaks fluent Spanish, which is funny. And
that's the part that was mind-boggling to me. Yeah. Like the craziest part is if he would have spoke Spanish and cussed everybody out in Spanish, this would have not have been a thing. Like not at all. And that's the worst. That's the worst part because it would have been guy in suit yells at Mexican restaurant wait staff in Spanish, and I guarantee you this would not have been the story. But the fact that he just said it in English was more of a dick than normal. It blew up, and then like you said, it's Twitter, so Twitter makes everything goes even crazier. And before, when things would happen on Twitter, it wouldn't touch you in the real life because if you're not on Twitter, you're not on that, then you don't know what's going on. But now that it's gotten so rabid, like within seconds, people know the guy's name, they know his address, know all that ish. And so then now that 10-second tirade is now encompassing your whole life.
You know how many Jack in the Boxes and McDonald's I went to, and the lady was from Spanish descent, and I couldn't understand a word she was saying. I said, maybe it's me. I don't want them to go back to Mexico. I just was like, let me just slow down. Yeah, I was frustrated because they never got my order right, but that wasn't me jumping off the rail saying you need to go back to your own country and speak English. The hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why would you say that? I think I think somebody put a government chip in their head and it, like something, they switched it on like white people go crazy. Because I don't understand how they just flip. Like they literally are having a bad day and then they just
but like I said, and someone pointed this out too. They're like, this ish has been always going on. It's just now you get to see it in video and documented. And so it's like, someone was making the point that, like, minorities have been saying that people have been acting like this for years, and now you have actual video evidence of it. And so, going back to the, police and stuff like that, and the killings and crap, and someone made the point, they're like, before people would say, hey, the police is foul and they killed my son without any cause, and you had no evidence, or you couldn't, all you could do is say the feeling, but you couldn't show it. Now you can actually show it in video, and then people still get away with it. And so we're in an age now where, like, we do have video recording for stuff like that, but I just wish that it would work. It would be for something that's actually like to me, it's like actually more important. Like, it's cool that Barbecue Betty was getting shamed and all that, but I'd rather have a video that helps someone that was in some like injustice happened to them, or like the kid that just got shot in the back in Pittsburgh for a traffic stop. Cool. Yeah, like this, like in the one got shot in the back. 2, he's like 17. 3, the dude that shot him like literally just got sworn in. Like I'm not even sure if it was a day. It might have been less than a day.
Word,
and then 4, the kid wrote a poem in school talking about, I don't want to be another black statistic shot by the police. So I was like, dude, you're killing me.
People, we got to do better. We just got to do better. Man. This is crazy. I mean, like, we're trending. African-American youth dying by the hands of a cop. I don't know the full story on that. I don't know what's going on with the officer that committed the act of shooting his kid.
Yeah, I think he's on paid leave, but he was like fresh out, got in, and then and I think it was Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC, former lawyer and all that. One thing he had an interesting thing to say was when a police officer uses their weapon, the first shot is usually a I feel danger for my life, that kind of situation. Supposedly, you're supposed to reassess the situation after shooting once. But a lot of times in these cases, each of these victims have been shot multiple times. Mike Brown got shot 7 to 9 times. Other people got shot multiple times. So he was saying that if the first shot is you're in danger, okay, but then if the next 10 of them, what is your excuse for those 10? And a lot of times juries and the public don't really think of it that. They're just like, oh man, this person got shot 9 times. But then they're like, oh, but I was, I felt threatened in my life. And if you felt threatened, you would shoot once. You wouldn't empty out your load or freaking shoot 12 times or 9 times. This kid got shot 3 times in the back once again. Or what was the cat that was running away from a traffic stop? And same thing with him. He got shot in the back. It's on camera. You see the person shooting him, and yet the person still didn't go to jail. It's like, yo, at some point, there has to be some type of correlation between the emboldenedness of what's going on in our current climate, our current political climate, but then also like how the system usually lets the people get away with these things. And maybe the barbecue Betty and permanent Patty is the small baby steps to get into that level.
All I know is if you shoot me once, I'm stopping what I'm doing. You shoot in the air, I'm stopping what I'm doing. But if you hit me once, I'm good. I don't want no more hot lead in me. Like, you don't have to pump 10 bullets in me to prove a point.
Dude, I remember what was the one? Oh, I remember this. It was a psychologist, and his patient has autism. He's a grown adult with autism, and he was in the middle of the street playing with toys or something like that. And the police were called to the scene, but before the police got there, him as the doctor is going up to his patient, trying to get him out the street. The police come, the doctor sits down, puts his hands up. Hey, don't shoot me. I'm the psychologist. This is my patient, and freaking the police shoot him.
It was crazy. It was like, why'd you shoot me? The cop's response was like, I don't know. Come on, man.
Exactly. It's like, yo, and what's crazy is me and my dad had this conversation, and we're talking about the Dylan Roof situation, and I was like, the one thing I don't understand, I understand why, but it's infuriating because for James Baldwin said to be a black person in America is to be in a constant state of rage. So if black people actually were mad about all the injustice that was happening to us, we would literally be killing people on the streets. Mm-hmm. But because of religion, because of just different types of aspects of things, we take it in stride and take those injustices and do something positive with it or something to that effect. So the dude that got shot by this police officer, if that was a white dude, he would have got sued in civil court, took him for all his money, done. Black guy was like, I talked to him. He didn't mean it. Yada, yada, yada. When Dylan Roof killed all those people in the church, even though he hung out with them for 2 hours, the families of those victims said, we invite Dylan Roof to church with us and have grace with God and blah, 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 blah. And if it's the reverse, people if it's white people that happens to this injustice, automatically suing, fuck that dude, you're going to get justice, yada, yada, yada. But when it's black people almost assume black people are just going to, accept it or be, forgiving or something to that effect, which I think is really, really dangerous just in general.
I hear that, man.
Yeah, it's a morbid topic. It went off the rails, but
it's like, look, white people, stop it.
y'all's got like 20. You got like we're at 2018. You got about to 2025, 2027. So you guys are now the minority. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Hey, look, Mexico about to reclaim is rightful state. I mean, Mexico won the World Cup. That was a win for the U.S. So, that's really us. So
that's hilarious, dude. Yeah. I mean, but it does. There is a certain level of emboldenedness where
white privilege.
Yeah, and people. It's funny because people are talking about how there's no such thing as white privilege. I know plenty of poor white people.
Yeah, okay.
And
you show me a poor white person, I'll show you somebody that didn't get the cheat code. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Well, and also too, the greatest thing that they did in the 40s, 50s, and 60s was to convince poor people, especially poor white people, that yes, you're poor, but at least you're not black or brown, and you are a poor person, but you're still better than the other. And with that being said, that divide happens. So what people don't realize also is you have more in common with people in your same economic class than you have of people of the same race or color and in different economic class. So poor black people and poor white people are pretty much on the same level as rich white together as they are rich black people or rich white people. Although poor white people look at rich white people as, yeah, I can get there. Donald Trump speaks for me. I can get, he's a guy that he's a self-made man. I could do that. And so that mentality always keeps the separated divide. So as a poor white person, they might be on food stamps and welfare. And then when they hear about the poor other getting the same thing, oh, they don't deserve it. They came here to this country just to, suck off the teeth of the government, blah, 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 blah. And so that divide is actually what keeps rich people in power and poor people poor. It's really, really, it's like ingenious, honestly, but it's hard to combat, actually.
Like I said, if you're a white person poor in America, you missed a lesson. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason for you to be poor in America and be white. Like, you got the advantage.
It's like, this company was made for you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not good at all.
All right, well, let's move on. This next topic I want to bring up is I'm conflicted a little bit, as of recent Twitter news, I saw my boy Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, trending again. Now, this has been brought to my attention. First of all, I want to congratulate brother Donald Glover for all the accomplishment he's made coming up in the game with the show Atlanta, fun little rap career, trying to be out there and a little bit different. However, it has been brought to my attention that recent events that he seems to be biting. And on my timeline, someone had, I want to give a shout out to another pod, the Dad Bod Rap Pod, hosted by some fellow friends of mine. Go check that out if you haven't heard, Dad Bod Rap Pod. But they brought up a little snippet of this artist named Jace Harley. And he has a song, I think it's called American Pharaoh. Now, people, go if you got Apple Music or SoundCloud or YouTube, go check out American Pharaoh. It sounds eerily like This Is America.
Ooh.
Let me rewind. I have a brother named who I know very well. His name is Mtume Gant, fellow creative. He is a dope auteur, filmmaker, thespian. He's been in the game. He's been in several movies. Go IMDb him, Mtume, M-T-U-M-E, Gant, G-A-N-T, or go to his Twitter, Sir Gant Core, I think that is his Twitter handle. But he made a short called Whiteface, which is 20 minutes, detailing about this guy who I think he was trying to be let me make sure. But basically, he had a piece where it was a black guy that wanted to be white and did all these little things. And then Donald Glover in season 2 had an episode, I think it's Timmy Perkins or something. I'm not sure. But what I'm trying to get at is that shot by shot, Donald Glover's piece looked eerily similar to my boy Mtume Gant's piece. Now, I'm not doing justice, not giving all the details, but if you check it out, there are like one or two, you're kind of like, okay, but there are numerous scenes that are like on point. There's no way of knowing if someone from Donald Glover's camp saw Mtume Gant's work that was done a year or two prior to season 2. And we can't tell if Donald Glover's camp had any like access to like this guy, Jace Harley, work. But, once is an accident, twice is a pattern. Or once maybe is a coincidence, but twice is a pattern. And I'm starting to question Donald Glover's artistic integrity. I'm just saying. I like Donald Glover, the artist. I appreciate the work he does. I think he's fun. Sometimes he doesn't take himself too seriously. But I'm starting to look at him with a little, instead of a queer eye, an artistic eye for the straight guy. So,
yeah,
I'm just
I think one of those things too is this kind of goes back to the case with because you have. I think Stevie Wonder said it best. He was just like he didn't think that those rulings of cases of like stealing, quote unquote, stealing songs and likenesses of songs without giving credit. He actually, him and Tom Petty before Tom Petty passed away, but they were both kind of like, yo, man, sometimes people are in the same space in terms of how they create songs, and sometimes they come out similar. They were actually way more forgiving of it than the former internet culture. Also too, one, unfortunately, in the Twitter sphere that we live in now, you can literally do one tweet. That tweet freaking goes viral, whether it's true or not, and it automatically gives it weight. And then you got to freaking sit there and defend it. And so it's gonna be interesting too, because I saw the response that the manager did, and he was kind of like, "Yo, man, this song is freaking 3 years old, but you guys are telling me a 2016 song that came out is the exact same thing." We don't know what's true or not at any point. Not defending either or. In too many situations, different. I never actually seen the episode they were talking about, but I know you were telling me about it, and he was like speaking on it as well. Which actually I think was didn't he making up some legal issues with that as well?
So the thing is, it's not as easy as just taking this dude to court. You know what I'm saying?
That's what what I thought. So that was the other thing someone brought up too, because I know, say for instance, I remember the Bruno Mars case was super hilarious, because if you look at the liner notes, like, there's like 24 different writers on that 24 karat magic, and someone broke it down, and they're like, essentially, people that said a word somewhere else some other time were basically getting credited with the song, which is insane to me. And I was like, wait, so now with the Childish Gambino one, that's going to be super interesting, because you're going to basically have to sit there and prove that actually you don't have to really prove anything. You have to just, this is the court of public opinion. And this is the part that I think is the most interesting, because the court of public opinion is usually fast and loose with facts, goes off of virility. And, if there is some type of a truth to it, it's going to get muddled in the salaciousness of being in Twitter, with the memes and the GIFs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, too many posted on Instagram, basically saying not so crazy now. A couple people chimed in, and it was like, yo, they said the artist wasn't unbothered by the rip. Even says Gambito's a great artist. He's glad he was influenced. This is America, doesn't want a dime. Says artists wanted money. It's a big reason they often don't get credit. Too many goes and said that's his opinion. I don't feel the same when it comes to me. He's like, you also have to remember, accusing someone famous of stealing can be an industry poison if you're trying to break in. He's also doing everything he can to protect himself as he tries to get in the industry. It's a nice guy tactic. He said,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, he's like, that's what Hollywood does. He's following the ethics of his masters, probably why they feel so comfortable with him being in that position, talking about Donald Glover. He says he sees himself as someone entitled to operate in that same hyper-capitalistic way that kept people who look like him marginalized for decades before he was born, just like Kanye does. He isn't an artist, he's a corporation. And what did they say about the psychology of corporations? They operate like a psychopath.
Yeah, and then also too, I think you're in a place where you have, like I said, just like he said, one dude will take one route, other dude will take another. That was like when they were talking about Drake was quote unquote stealing Hotline Bling from Dram with the Cha Cha song or whatever. It's a similar sample, but completely different types of songs. But it's like, now that we have the internet and everything's available to us, there's even say for instance, Childish Gambino and them created that without any knowledge of dude's track. It actually now, because someone put it out into the air that, oh, I think this dude stole it. Now that's a thing, period, whether it's true or not, and it doesn't help that, and it makes it gives extra credence because of the Mtume situation as well. So that's why now, like you said, you're like, if it was just one thing, maybe, but now that there's two, your eyebrows raise a little bit more, and now you're looking at it with more of a watchful eye. Yeah. And so like I said, the court of public opinion, it just basically just throws anything to the wall, and then now you have to scramble to do it. Like, this happens with a lot of the not to put too much of a parallel, but there has been instances in the Me Too era where people are accusing other people of stuff, and it's not true, but because it's wrapped up into everything else and court of public opinion, now you're on the record of being like, yo, did you do this to this person? And the person's like, no, I didn't. Well, we don't believe you. And he's like, wait, what?
Well, the thing with Mtume's case is that he hasn't come out forthright and said, I'm suing this guy. This is a delicate subject. He understands the nature of the business. Him also
which honestly, if he does, like, my thing too is, I think if you do, like, say for instance, the woman that sued the Wachowskis for the basic concept for the Matrix, and I believe that case is still going. I don't think it actually got settled. There's a rumor that it got settled, but I don't think it did. But it's like, those are those type of cases where, like, if you really feel like your work had been copied and stuff, I personally think you should go and freaking go to the mattresses and freaking try to and get some compensation for that, because especially when it's documented, you can look at it, you can see it, and like as I saw Mtume's post about it, how he broke it down. He was like, yo, that's just mine, shot for shot, line for almost shot for shot, line for line. Dude, yo, by all means, freaking, I think you should freaking go after people like that.
I wish it was that simple, but again, he understands the nature of the business, being in the business. The intricacies and the delicacies of making such a claim, even though the similarities are strong, also comes down to he said, she said, money, so that he's got lawyers. I'm assuming, I don't know, but there's a reason why Mtume hasn't gone full-fledged G.I. Joe with this dude to court and gone to the mattresses per se. He's trying to finesse the situation. I'm just speaking from what I can see from the outside. I can't speak for him per se. But like I said, just very, very interesting that now Donald Glover has been caught out twice for quote unquote biting.
Yeah. No, I think it is interesting. And I think also too, I laughed because I just looked up that blogger, or not blogger, but the person that accused of Gambino of biting the song or whatever, and it's just super interesting because it was we're now in a place now where you can be a professional troll, and that could be your job to do that. And then once you get to a certain level of follower base or something like that, then people will take you like actually quote unquote serious. And it's interesting because when we were at BET, we like kind of tell some like celebrity people like, yo, man, you can't respond to every person that says dumb shit to you. And I like the moment you do, you give that person actual power, and that's what messes a lot of people up. So a good example is Justin Timberlake when Jesse Williams had that speech that said, black people are magic, blah blah blah, and Justin Timberlake was watching that, and he tweeted, and he was just like, "Oh shit, that was dope, Jesse, that was an awesome speech, yada yada." People tweeted back at him, "Yo, like when you fucking dicked over Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl," and like they just went in on him about it, and for whatever reason, he responded to the one person about it, and that one person, I think they had 5 followers or 10 or whatever it was, but that blew up into even bigger things. And so now, like I said, in a court of public opinion, whether the accusation is true or not, if enough people believe it or retweet it or comment on it, it is now given life and license, and now you're going to have to address it and figure out a way to quell it or figure something out, And also, too, what's even interesting, people always talk about the power of Black Twitter, and where it does have a certain level of power, there's also another level that a lot of people have no idea what you're talking about. So it's like, I think we as Black, quote unquote, Black Twitter, we feel we have a lot of power to a certain extent when it comes to, starting trends or those type of things. But then mic check. Mic check.
Hello? Mic check. Sorry, we cut out there, folks. We back.
All right. But yeah, like my biggest thing is just like a lot of times we as Black Twitter think we're making a big deal about something, and then it doesn't really pop, or like it starts to, because people start to pay attention to Black Twitter and what they're talking about, because they know that Black Twitter's knows what's on the pulse of pop culture. But then at the end of the day, it's like, is Childish Gambino going to be losing any money off of these accusations? Is there going to be lawsuits or anything like that? Or is there going to be any repercussions for the said allegations? If there is, then cool. If it's just a loss of quote unquote street cred, it's kind of like, I mean,
it's a combination of both, because I mean, he's a so-called quote unquote genius.
Yeah, that's a whole other word.
But
I know
that's a whole different argument. But I'm just saying, for me, it's like when you're an MC and you say, "Oh, that dude's a dope lyricist," but then you find out somebody writes his lyrics. How much of a dope lyricist are you? Or are you just a dope person that finds good lyricists to write your raps? Like Donald Glover, obviously, is very talented, but like, to people are just labeling him a genius. We're so quick to call people geniuses, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but I'm just saying, once you get that label, then I got to be more critical of you.
Yeah. No, but also we as a Black community tend to deify creative people in a way that is almost unrealistic to what the person is. That happens with Kanye. That happens with Michael. Happens with Beyonce. That happens with Jay. Happens literally with like especially when it comes to music and talent in that aspect. Like, people like to put them in this weird deity type situation where the level of standard that they have is astronomical. Like, Beyonce's damn near a freaking god at this point in terms of how people look at her and how she moves and stuff like that. Jay has a weird situation as well. Childish Gambino is just slightly getting that taste of it right now. And it's interesting because more white people fuck with him than Black people. Black people are just starting to get into him in the last 6 to 8 months, which is hilarious. Yeah. But it's funny because my thing is, say for instance, this stuff still happened, I'm curious to see if that would affect his overall thing, his overall brand, or his overall, just the stuff that he creates. Because at the end of the day, what people still forget is like the majority of people that are consuming the media that these people create are not Black. And so, yes, we are important in terms of how we affect culture and tastemakers and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like, if Black Twitter is like, yo, this person's canceled, quote unquote, that doesn't necessarily do much for someone that's on a global scale, And I think that's the part where I always think we kind of we're feeling ourselves a little too much in that respect sometimes. So that's why I'm really curious to see if this will actually affect any of the things that he does or any of the moves that he makes.
We'll see, because I mean, like I said, I still cancel Kanye. I ain't listened to nothing since Pusha T album. I mean, I send a canary in there. I'd be like, how many songs Kanye on? Be on more than 2? I'm not listening to it. So that's my personal mantra.
And I think honestly, it's funny because I don't even argue with that, even though the shit that's been putting out, a lot of it's fired. Like 5 albums in 5 months. That shit's 5 albums in 5 weeks. It's pretty freaking impressive. And then Tiana Taylor's that album is bananas. So is Kids See Ghosts. But that's beyond the point.
Look, if Tiana Taylor is the highlight of your 5 album with all these heavy hitters, something wrong.
Not necessarily, man. As an R&B dude, it's just a good someone asked me and I was like, the Pusha out of all the 5, I would go Kids See Ghost, Tiana Taylor, Pusha T, and then Ye and Nas at the end. Nas and Kanye, the chemistry is just not there. I went back and listened to Nas's Life Is Good album, and that shit was banging. I totally forgot about it. It came out in 2012. I probably haven't listened to it since then. But dude, re-listening to it, I'm just like, holy crap! Like, this is a really good album.
Bruh, if Nas is last on your list, something wrong with hip hop, bruh. I can't.
Nah, there's so much more music out than.
I got a final word on that, and I'm gonna save it. So
yeah, no, but my thing with that is, I think it was J-Zone. Yeah, he was just talking about that, where it's just like my whole take on Kanye. I have a longer rant on it, but I don't need to bring it up. Is more just like it's interesting to watch people go through the motions of trying to figure out if or not they're going to listen to him, or if, like you said, you're like, you know what, I'm done with Kanye. And that's like, which is perfectly fine. I know other people, they fuck with Kanye only musically. They don't care anything about his life, his politics, anything he does. They don't pay attention to it.
If your music ain't up to par,
Oh yeah. Exactly, 100%. And so my thing was just interesting is listening to all the albums. I don't feel like I wasted any time. I thought every time I listened to an album, I was like, oh shit, there's some dope shit in there.
Check it out. Check it. Look, we waited on Kanye to be Kanye for a long time, and I felt like he didn't have to resort to these tactics to get this attention. With that said, a lot of people tolerated his nonsense. It wasn't to this level of trolling, but he was still trolling nonetheless. When he got past the point of ethically, morally contradicting himself and just going off the rails, whatever thing he's going through, there has to be, personally, the person that feeds into Kanye, the person and the artist, has to have some, I think, believe some moral accountability. We give this man a platform to be Kanye. If we take that away, maybe he can have some I'm just going off what I think. He can have some self-reflection on himself and maybe see some of the things that he's doing is not right. I've seen interviews with various artists who work with Kanye, and he's questioning if what he's doing is right or wrong. And some people check him, namely T.I., Pusha T, and a few others that in his corner. With that said, look, Kanye ain't been Kanye. Like I said, Kanye's on indefinite suspension. I haven't canceled Kanye per se, but I'm just not checking for him. Like you said, there's too much good music out there for me to be like on Kanye's nuts. And
yeah, no, I actually agree. I think the only thing I would say with that was, and I posed this question to someone else. I was just like, I just don't understand what people want from him. I hear that, but the most interesting part to me is because someone was like, "Yo, Kanye's off the rails." Da, da, da. I was like, "Cool. So, what would Kanye have to do to get back into your good graces?"
Not say poopity poop poop. No, I'm not fooling with that.
No, that shit is fucking hilarious because he literally did the exact thing that everyone's been talking about, saying, "Could you make a track with doing stupid shit?" And I was like, "That's fucking hilarious." That to me, that was funny. I never took it seriously. I thought it was just funny. The other part about Kanye that makes it interesting to me is the visceral reaction that people have to him, just him in general. Which is like, again, I'm curious because the people that are yelling at Kanye to be something more than he was or is or whatever they dream he is or whatever are the same people that made fun of him when his moms died, made fun of him when he wanted to do his own shoe, made fun of him when he did his fashion line, made fun of him when he did the 808 and the Heartbreaks off of the heartbreak of breaking up with his girl, made fun of him for marrying Kim K, made fun of him for like literally there's a laundry list of things that every single time Kanye does something and it's not quote unquote of the culture of the way that what people think he's supposed to be, they make fun of him, and then every time he grows out of it and does something even crazier. Not saying great, I'm just saying crazier. And so it's always interesting to see the visceral reaction that people have. Like when Kanye said the whole 400 years of slave, dumb shit, whatever, like I didn't even get mad at that, more just because if you listen to the whole fucking thing, he was talking about slavery of the mind, blah, 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 blah. And Kanye is a very inarticulate person. So that's a whole other thing. But it's just interesting that I'm always curious to see what the audience wants from this celebrity in terms of music. Like someone's like, yo, I just want him to, make music like Late Registration, da 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 da. I was like, that was like almost 15 years ago. He wasn't married. He didn't have kids. He wasn't even the same like economic class. So wait, you want him to do music exactly like he was 15 years ago when you're not even the same 15 years ago. So it's always interesting to see people.
You ain't got to make music that reflected a certain era. Like I listen to Ghostface. It's the same Ghostface, but at the same time, he's evolving. I've even listened, like Nas has changed. He made a few albums that were good, made a few albums that kind of flopped, but it's still Nas. Kanye ain't been Kanye since My Twisted Dark Fantasy, whatever. I'm not saying Kanye has to be that Kanye, but I'm not about to sit here and accept poopity poop scoop doop like as like lyrics, bars, And the fact that when Kanye puts himself out there as an intellectual, fine. If you want to do that, fine. But come correct. Spit facts. Be that guy. I'm not gonna hold you accountable if you don't do that. Like,
I mean, and that's I think the most interesting thing to me was I thought that move was hilarious because that literally was an actual troll move. I thought Pusha T album was fucking dope. The Ye album was all over the place, but I think it was more of a, this is all the shit I'm going through, me and my mental state, my girl, da 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 da. Then from there, the Kids See Ghost album with Cudi. If you're a Cudi fan, that shit is fire. If you're not a Cudi fan, it's okay. And then after that, Nas album. I actually like the Nas album. I think it's not dope, but I like a lot of it. Plus, I wasn't checking for Nas, so all of a sudden I'm getting a Nas album. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll listen to it. And some of it's cool, some of it's not.
Pleasantly surprised. That's cool. That's like I wasn't checking for Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I looked at it.
That's because you wasn't checking for it. Like Nas came out. Nas, he's a legend. I hold him to a gold standard. I'm not gonna give him a pass because something he did this or whatever. You've been in the game this long. You better come out with fire, like fire. I'm putting him up there. I put him as one of my top lyricists, so I expect greatness.
Yeah, but then that's that part I'm talking about. Like, there's a weird expectation where it's like, even with Kanye, that fool's put out how many albums now? It's 7, 8, 9, something like that. And so it was interesting to me. I'm like, wait, so in 7 albums, people have written for him. He comes out with one meh album, which is still better than most people's great album. And then they're just like, oh man, I can't do it Kanye anymore. I'm like, really? Like that's all it took? 7 songs, and now you're like, it's over? 7 songs in a 400 years of slave comment?
A bunch of stuff. Like, okay, if you didn't like Yeezus, cool. If you didn't like 808 Heartbreak, whatever. But like his swing and misses have been kind of adding up. Like,
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
I didn't think Pablo was that good, and if it was 7 tracks, like yay, Pablo would have been a classic.
Pablo is trash. There's 3 songs on there, and I fight anybody for it. Like,
no, I agree. It was like
30
4 songs
hours.
at most.
Yeah, 30 hours. Ultralight Beam and No More Parties in LA Go, and then he got that last song that sound like House Movement. I'm really outside of all that.
So that's like 4 tracks.
Yeah, that's it.
And what's even funnier is on the new Ye album,
which I would listen to ever.
Yeah, honestly, you don't need to. But I liked 4. I liked 4 out of the 7 tracks. The first track, it was like some spoken word shit. 2, 3, and 4-ish are on some current level trap shit. And then the other ones are like on some interesting Kanye, like the way he's been producing some stuff. So it's like, I think it's interesting that I think in general, it's just like, it's funny how people look at it because the antics of someone is starting to impede on the person's music. And so it's cool. It's interesting to see how people justify it. And I think in a weird way, because it's not on the crazy level of a R. Kelly, Nas has his own case right now, not case, but like the allegations of like abuse with Khalees and some other stuff that's starting to bubble up. And some people were some people were like, if that's true, I'm not listening to Nas. Like those things are starting to cross over. So it's interesting to see how the antics of Kanye is starting to permeate into the music where people are like, well, I'm not even going to check for him because his antics I don't agree with, which I think that's everyone's right. And I think if that's how you look at your music, then that's completely fine. I think that's fine. That's why you're like, I'm never going to listen to it. I'm like, that's cool, man. You might miss out on some cool stuff or you might not. That's no big deal.
You know what? It comes down to, like I said, it comes down to a perfect person's moral ethics, or what they can tolerate. People like R. Kelly and Bill Cosby. I'm not gonna go too far in this, but what they've done is, to me, it's just terrible. So, I'm canceling. I don't need to listen to them. Yeah, it's horrible.
There's no excuses and none of that stuff. I think the only thing now that we're facing is interesting to me because horrible people make great art. And so now we have to find your own. I think to me, I always leave it to the individual. I don't think it's a group thing, but I think the individual has to kind of figure out where that line is for themselves. Kind of like with XX Tentacion. Like I don't know that dude's music. I don't really know anything about him besides mad tattoos, domestic abuse case, and then he passed away. So I really have nothing about.
How do you pronounce his name?
It's XX Tentacion. I learned about that from the young kids today.
Tentacion. I thought it was extension or something like that.
Yeah, I'm the same way. But that's the same thing. Like to hear people in 25 and under talk about him, it was very interesting. But then I asked them about the domestic abuse charges, and then they got quiet, and they're still trying to reconcile how do you like an artist's music and their work when they do some questionable human shit. And so everyone has to kind of deal with it on their own. Like I'll still play freaking R. Kelly's Ignition remix because it's one of the greatest R&B remixes of all time. But R. Kelly's a piece of shit. So Doesn't mean I'm playing all his music or rocking it, but I'm not going to deny that song's not good.
No, no one's gonna say that the work that they've done. Like, we can't discredit these people's work because they did great work. However, moving forward, like I said, Extension was a woman beater, and he beat his pregnant girlfriend. Yep. And so I didn't listen to his music, so it didn't bother me to cancel him one way or the other. However, I'm not gonna go out and vilify this dude because dude clearly had issues, and anybody get shot is not right. However, he has skeletons in the closet, and I'm gonna tell you guys, folks, the Me Too movement is coming to hip hop. It's gonna expose a lot of folks.
That's. I mean, it's low key already been doing it, but it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, you know, the good part about it is the checking of shitty behavior because people don't. I think we all know people are shitty, and I think that's a thing. And then it's just that the tolerance of the shittiness it's coming home to roost, which I think is good.
2018, people are shitty.
Yeah, but with that being said, the broad stroke that everyone wants to paint, every single person being shitty, is the part that I just thought that's the part we're going to get into an even worse part with that.
It's a case by case basis. It's like if you get caught, you're that dude, you got to go. It depends on what where you stand. Like I said,
you know
what I'm saying? I mean, it's sad that he died, got shot. That's not good. That's not a thing we need to be celebrating. And I'm not going to chime in on that. I'm like, I'm mixed. Like, I don't listen to his music, so it wasn't a big deal for me not to listen to his music even when he was alive. However, I'm not praising the guy for getting killed, and a lot of people were doing that, and we got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just on some and that's just on some human shit, man. Like that's the part that I disagree with in terms of how the conversations are going, where it's like, you know, the shaming culture, the cancel culture, that kind of stuff, like the celebrating of the negativity of stuff, like, oh, I'm glad he's dead, he's a wooden breeder, blah blah blah. It's like, damn, really? Nigga's dead, man. Like, you might disagree with how he lived his life, but freaking, you know what? If you have nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that nice to say about Hitler. But
but someone actually said the same, and we're talking about American Beauty or freaking The Usual Suspects, and someone was like, "Yo, are those movies worse movies because Kevin Spacey's a shitty person?" No,
they're still
not at all. But they're still dope movies. But now you have a
look for it, or would I look for his next project? No.
Oh no, not at all. And I think that's where we're at now, where it's just like the shitty people are starting to get called out and lose their, and have consequences for those natures, which is great, rightfully so. Yeah. But I think now, if nothing else, I would hope that people would just be better people to each other, as opposed to like just being shitty. I think that's the part that it's easy to say the whole, it goes both ways. Women are shitty too, which is, yes, we all know this, but in a public, professional setting, there are way more shittier dudes. Yeah. And just in general that get away with the craziest shit, and that shouldn't happen. And I think that part of it coming to light is also a really, really, really good. And with that, we can get to our final words.
You want to start it off?
Yeah. My only final word is freaking just be better people.
What did LeBron say? Be better tomorrow?
Yeah, like, man, it's like if everyone just tried to be 1% better today than they were yesterday, just in their own lives, it would probably help them out just being like in their own people got to find the happiness within their own selves. It makes you a better person, so you're not going to spit the vitriol and negativity on others, like the trolling and like all that. And like, I think the cancel culture and the Me Too and all that, like I wrap it all together because there's parts of it that are good, and then there's a big larger part that's bad, where the negativity and the treating each other horribly just makes it bubbles over, and then it also adds, with the current climate of the state of our politics and that kind of stuff. But I think just people just got to be better people and just for each other and themselves. Like, yo, man, go find your own happiness. If you're happy, then it's easier for you to shine that happiness to others. But if you're in a shitty situation or you're in a negative way, you're just going to be negative to other people, and that shit spreads. So I think if general, people just need to find their own small piece of happiness, and then don't let all the crazy negativity of the world affect you as much as it mostly has to people.
As long as that happiness is not malicious. And
yeah, man. I laugh like probably 20 times a day on average, and I want to continue to do that to the day I die because it is really not that serious.
Righteous. My final words is a culmination of episodes that we missed, and so I got a few final words, and they're quick. Black Twitter is OP. Donald Glover is a biter. Nas' album is trash. I don't need to listen to it. Westworld season 2 needs a damn TED talk. And if white people tell me to go back to Africa, I'm gonna say I'm stolen property. So that's that.
I'm stolen property.
Exactly.
Nice. All right, man. Well, this is the Table of Truth, and we are out.
Peace.
You can listen and download to all of our episodes of The Table of Truth on iTunes. Just search The Table of Truth podcast.